Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. It is so good to be able to be here. So I have another one of my videos, and of course, which obviously consists of the news. And I tell you, watching these floods in California and all the absolute devastation. But what really struck me, I think, in this part of this video, because I also have some coverage, of course, with Israel, and also with this this mysterious glitch that happened in the system that grounded some planes. So, I think we all have our views about that and questions about that. But I think what really got me is they were talking to a pastor with this, with the goings on and all these things that they're preparing, of course, for the people to help the people with the floods, some of the victims, of course. And what got me is, he mentioned, of course, praying. But nowhere have I heard the word Jesus or God, which really kind of struck me funny. Even obviously coming from a pastor, it's like you have your chance in your moment, of course, to mention the word of Jesus, which is very important to all. He is the one that we look to first. Yes, it's praying, but we better make sure also that we mention Jesus in that. So I guess that just kind of upset me a little bit that, you're going to kind of almost dance around the question and what you're talking about, but you're going to kind of omit Jesus, which is the most important about with all of this. As we know, again, like I said, there's no doubt that this is Bible prophecy. There's no doubt about it. And I feel so sorry for all the people that are, of course, involved in this. I have relatives out there. I so grieved for all the things that they're going through. But like I say, I just wanted to check in with you guys, and I'm just, like I say, gonna kind of putting together some things that I see that I feel are important, as we all do. So I hope you enjoy the video, and please like and subscribe. Again, trying to get this channel built. And again, thank you so much, and please stay safe. Prayers, Jesus, and look to the skies, as I always say, with pride, with the good pride, knowing that, this world, unfortunately, this has turned into a cesspool. We know this, that we live in is only for a moment. And the main thing, again, though, is in this meantime, I think that many of us are in a battle of winning our children, grandchildren, family, friends, and maybe even ourselves to the Lord Jesus and getting our life straight, shedding the old self, which to me, like I said, is that is the most difficult, I believe, and challenging. I know it is for myself. So thank you so much again, and God bless you and your family, and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Incoming National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir sparked a meeting when he spent 13 minutes on the Temple Mount, the first visit by an Israeli minister in almost 5 years. During the emergency session in New York, the UN and a parade of nations, including the U.S., criticized Israel for the visit.
Secretary Blinken has said very clearly that it's absolutely critical for all sides to exercise restraint, refrain from provocative actions and rhetoric at the Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount and other holy sites in Jerusalem, both in word and in practice. In this spirit, we oppose any and all unilateral actions that depart from the historic status quo, which are unacceptable.
Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, slammed the meeting and said he was shocked.
And why? Because there is absolutely no reason that this emergency session today should be held. None. To hold a Security Council session on a non-event is truly absurd. To claim that this brief and completely legitimate visit should spark an emergency Security Council session is pathetic. Security Council session on what?
It's part of the diplomatic terrorism of the Palestinian Authority. You know, they put pressure on the representatives in the Security Council to call for a meeting. They will come, spread lies. No, it's not helping the Palestinians. It's not helping the peace process. It's part of the blame game.
The Temple Mount is open to all. Muslims and Christians come up here, and yes, also Jews. In a government I'm a member of, there will be no discrimination, and Jews will come up and visit the Temple Mount.
17 people have been killed, and that toll expected to rise as waves of dangerous storms pummel California.
We've had less people die in the last 2 years of major wildfires in California that have died since New Year's Day related to this weather.
The state swamped with some 36 inches of rain since Christmas, causing record flooding and extensive damage. Entire communities forced to evacuate. Central California Highway Patrol officers blocking traffic as massive boulders rain down on Highway 168 in Fresno County. Union Station in Los Angeles completely flooded. Golf carts used to shuttle passengers from the flooding. During an appearance on CBN's Faith Nation, Alan Cross, pastor of Petaluma Valley Baptist Church, shared how churches are working to help the displaced.
They're just standing ready to help and open up for evacuations if needed and checking on their folks. They're under these flood warnings for creek beds that were dry and hillsides that had not received much rain at all are now in a place where the land is giving way. So we're all just watching on edge.
He's encouraging prayers for those affected by the severe weather.
I think the main thing is just praying for people to be aware of their neighbors and to have compassion. That really is the role of the church, is to see people in need, connecting with others, and just being that refuge where we can join hands together as a community.
Meanwhile, President Biden has declared an emergency in the state as forecasters warn the storms are expected to continue into next week.
Wind and rain turned icy today in San Francisco and much of the East Bay. People sent us their videos capturing a quick-moving hailstorm that left pellet-sized ice on the ground. KTVU's Christina Rendon live now in Oakland with more on the thunder and lightning that put on quite a show today. Christina.
Yeah, Julie, well, wild is a good way to describe it. People were pulling out their phones to snap pictures and take videos of the weather today, and the hail. Well, that was an unexpected turn in the stretch of rain we've had so far. A spin on the Bay Area's wet weather Tuesday, lightning illuminating San Francisco and striking Sutro Tower. Then came the hail, seen here during the noon hour on Union Street. By 12:30, it hit the Oakland Hills, falling in Steve Tesler's backyard.
It was amazing. First there was thunder, first there was lightning and then thunder, and then all of a sudden it starts raining and then it starts hailing. And the hail lasted for a good 4 or 5 minutes, I would think.
There was so much hail, from pellet to pea size, it looked more like snow on this street of the Park Ridge Estates neighborhood. Darlene Jan took these images from her home.
It was just truly amazing. I've never seen that much hail or thunder and lightning here in the Bay Area. I used to live in Sedona, Arizona, and we would have monsoon rains. As soon as we heard the thunder and lightning, we ran out front.
The hail quickly came and went, and while most melted, some stayed behind in patches on rooftops and patios. People don't recall ever seeing weather like this. Not just the hail, thunder, and lightning, but the stretch of storms we've had for days now.
I think it's unusual we've had this much rain in such a short period of time.
Well, it's long overdue. Let's put it that way.
Tesler has 2 weather stations in his yard, one on an antenna, the other on a shed. He showed us the app that tracks the rainfall.
Today we had 1.5 inches of rain.
And says since the start of the year, their neighborhood has received 9.4 inches of rain.
Problem is, it's just so much at one time. If it was spaced out a little bit, it'd probably be better for the ground and better for everyone else. But we definitely need the water.
And there are a number of images and videos on social media, just like this one on Twitter, showing lightning striking the Transamerica Pyramid in the city. And the hail didn't just hit San Francisco and Oakland. It also stretched into the greater part of the East Bay, hitting places like Walnut Creek and Pleasant Hill. Julie.
As a passenger, these things are so frustrating when you know that there have been mass cancellations during the holidays. There's been other issues. As Chris mentioned there, President Biden has directed the Department of Transportation to conduct a full investigation into the cause of this, and there's certainly been more pressure on Secretary Buttigieg to provide answers.
Certainly. And that other question that we heard Chris refer to about the possibility of a cyber attack, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre tweeted that the president has been briefed and that the FAA will provide some regular updates, but that there is, in fact, no evidence, as we heard from Chris, of any cyber attacks.
We don't know what the cause of it is. They expect that in a couple hours they'll have a good sense of the cause, and we'll respond at that time.
Well, joining us now is CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, what else do we know about the White House's response to this FAA system failure? And we heard from Chris that the investigation is underway. Some positive news that they don't think that it was a cyber attack. But when might we actually learn what was at the root cause?
Great question. We were told that the president was informed about this situation this morning. He, in turn, told us, reporters who were gathered on the White House South Lawn this morning, that he had asked the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, to keep him up to speed on the investigation, on what was going on. And we anticipate that when those answers are available, they will be coming from the FAA and the Department of Transportation and not from the White House. White House really appears to want to allow the flow of information to come from those central agencies as this situation develops.
Now, Nancy, because there is some other incoming for the White House today, former Vice President Mike Pence criticizing this Department of Justice and its handling of the document controversies now surrounding former President Trump and now President Biden. The former vice president spoke with our Robert Costa yesterday about how this response was different. Let's just quickly, for our viewers, listen to what he had to say.
To have the FBI execute a search warrant at the home of a former president of the United States, I thought was a gross overreach. But now to see classified documents found as having been in the possession of the president who was a former vice president and being treated differently, the kind of double standard that we see being practiced by the Biden administration in the wake of this incident in the Justice Department.
Nancy, when we spoke yesterday, we knew there would be incoming from Republicans as far as criticism. How is the president responding to this new critique?
Well, so far, the president and the White House more generally have not really addressed the criticism. We heard the president address the situation for the first time in Mexico yesterday, reading partially from prepared remarks. He kind of walked reporters through exactly what happened from his point of view, but he didn't take any additional questions about it. And White House officials really haven't expounded either, besides providing some basic information from the White House counsel's office. So today, when White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre takes to the podium, this will really be the first time that White House officials are going to have to answer some of these questions in public. And so we'll see what she has to say. I'm sure she's going to be asked about the criticism that has been leveled by Republicans that somehow President Biden is being treated differently than former President Trump. And there will also be a lot of questions that she'll be asked having to do with how this situation unfolded. Exactly when was President Biden informed that there were classified documents found in his office at the Penn Biden Center? Do they know any more about what kind of documents these were? Why didn't the president's lawyers, when they discovered these documents, inform either the FBI or the National Archives directly? Why did they come first to the White House and inform the White House counsel's office? And for that matter, why were the president's lawyers in charge of packing up this office in the first place? That isn't typically a job that you turn to lawyers to do. So what exactly was going on? So, there's still a lot of unanswered questions here, and we'll see how forthcoming the White House is today when it comes to responding to those questions.
Really, really interesting set of questions. And also interesting that the president said that he didn't know what was in those documents and has been advised by his lawyers not to ask that question. All right, Nancy, appreciate it.
You got it.